Oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you so much. I just first want to congratulate the team, Catherine, Jen, Rochelle. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I'm being motioned to be located in the center. Sorry about that. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be here this evening with Las Vegas's finest. Always a lovely, excuse to visit Las Vegas. And I am joining you all today from San Jose. So let me just be real with everyone here. I had quite a day. And I even questioned if I was going to be able to get on my flight and make it here in one piece. So if my hair is messed up, if my lipstick is a muck, you, I hope, can take me as I am. Thank you, thank you. I typically go off the cuff and right off the dome with my speaking, but given our time considerations and that I am standing between all of you and dinner, I'm going to use my talking points this evening. But in terms of a little bit of level setting before I get into some of the remarks that I prepared tonight, and even though I've only been here for the past hour and a half of your fuller conference, I am also going to speak with you all on themes of representation versus representing, dialectical thinking, realms of trust, and the inextricable relationship between entrepreneurship and activism. But before I get into all that, I like guessing games because it's a good way to get people shouting and a good way to see where we are, where I am, where we are all together. All right, so what is, shout it out if you know the answer, what is the current population of the Filipino XO American community in Las Vegas? That was a real exact number. Okay. Do we have any other answers? Because I'll shout out what I heard over here. 200,000. We got 200,000. We have 370,000.
I think that's all Asian Americans and Native Hawaiians is 370,000. Sorry about that.
126,000. So I don't want to go against Catherine, who is the founder of the API Chamber of Commerce. But according to the Census Bureau, we're about close to 200,000. But I'm going to go with Catherine's answer, too. But that's a significant number, everybody. In San Jose, we're about 130,000. And my next question for everyone is, what is the population in total of the Filipino XO community in Nevada? 201,000 over here. All right, okay, so Rochelle was right. Basically, everybody in this Vegas region constitutes the entire Phil-Am population in Nevada. So my last question for everybody, what is the total population of Phil-Ams in the United States? 5.3 million. Any other answers, guesses? All right, we're at 4 million, everybody. Yeah, so we are the second largest Asian American Pacific Islander group in this country. And part of what I want to talk with you all today is not just our relationship to activism and entrepreneurship, but our duty to study our community and to understand our contributions to this country, that we have been here since 1587, that we just came out of a Filipino American History Month, that, ooh, let's give a shout out for that. Filipino American History Month, everybody. Yeah, so let's step into this together. And please don't mind if I do check my phone. I want to be, again, considerate of time and standing between you all and dinner. So I'm coming to you all today wearing two of my hats in community. Just like all of you, I am a friend, I am a community member, I'm a member of the LGBTQIA+ community. I hold many identities near to my heart, but I bring that first in building this community space with everyone. But I was invited to talk a little bit about my role as the executive director and founder of Lead Filipino, which I'll talk about. And then being the creator of Fancy Heads, which you see all my crowns in the corner over there. Shout out to Rachel, rocking our flower crown right now. You can pick one up over there. Lead Filipino is a nonprofit organization. We are based in San Jose, California, and I'd like to give a shout out to my girl April Cruda with the State of Nevada's Office of Minority Health for connecting me with Jen and Rochelle and the dynamic team that made today possible. We've been around since 2015, and our mission is to increase the civic engagement and literacy, and develop and provide culturally responsive education and programs, and increase the grassroots development of Filipinas' X's and O's and broader communities. And what does that look like? Our most recent campaigns have included the passage of AB 490, the Justice for Angelo Quinto Act, which banned knee to neck holds to be used by any law enforcement officer in California. We've worked on the historic naming of the Delano Manongs Park in East San Jose, which is the first park to be named in the city of San Jose in honor of our Filipino American history. And we just partnered, and I appreciate one of our previous speakers' emphasis around wellness, around vibration, around meditation, and the wellness of self. Because we just partnered with the Stanford Cancer Institute in conducting the first ever study in Santa Clara County to look at Fil-Am behaviors and attitudes around cancer prevention and awareness. Because even though we are overrepresented on the front lines as healthcare workers, not a lot is known about us in the medical literature. So that's a little bit about Lead Filipino, everybody. If you ever find yourself in San Jose, please do drop by. We're often in the field, so call first. We're a team of 4 part-time staff, and we have a growing team of organizers and interns. But truly, the mission could not be advanced without the collective might and the belief of our families, our youth, and our seniors. But I want to talk about on the topic of representation versus representing. Because for me, I connect with these two very distinct actions, values, in a way of how Lead Filipino got its start. So my background, as was briefly shared, is in public policy and campaigns. I'm a student of political science, which is the only true science, I'm told. And prior to starting Lead Filipino, I was telling Catherine and Jen, I worked just like them in the fundraising space in a variety of nonprofit administration roles, and on the campaign trail working on issues related to ethnic studies, getting driver's licenses for all Californians despite their status, and corporate board diversity, which is, let me tell you, rife with a lot of the temperature's high in that body of work. But through working in these spaces, I also was a staffer for legislators. And for any like former or current legislative staff in the House, hey, there you go. So she can tell you that the work of a legislative staff, it involves long hours and frequent travel and meeting with diverse constituencies that have polar opposite differences in the needs, in the interests, and how our communities need to thrive and need to survive. It often involves staffing electeds in town halls and committee hearings. And my biggest lesson around representation versus representing was not just that I didn't see Fil-Ams in elected spaces. This was before Assembly Member, now Attorney General Rob Bonta, was elected as the first Filipino in our state legislature. This was about 2012, 2013. But as a staffer, looking around and seeing powerful lobbyists come in, powerful people in our state capital and in Washington, D.C., making very consequential decisions on our communities without being answerable to us or accountable to us, I would often find myself sitting back and thinking, how would this play out differently if we had Fil-Am representation? If people that understood our experiences in a culturally relevant and respectful way sat in those rooms, put some game on those lobbyists and those other representatives that were pushing their agenda, how could we raise up our voices and our stories? So that was one of the earliest examples of when I saw that representation is important, it is valuable, and it is an essential. But to me, the call, when we look at our history, we look at our involvement in pushing society forward, I think the call was representation and the response is representing. And this was already alluded to earlier, but to represent, that means you are heard. That means when you are in rooms, you are speaking on your homegirl or your homeboy's business. You are encouraging others to invest in business ideas. You advocate for our communities. You raise up the collective consciousness about our needs and our experiences and our traumas, and that we're all just trying to thrive and survive in this aggressive economy and society that we find ourselves in. So that is an important distinction that I leave with all of you, or that I offer to all of you, which is, it's one thing to be seen, but if you are proximate to power, and you are that chief of staff, or you are that staffer, the field representative, or you are that elected official, no matter what level. I know we got a commissioner in the house over here, hey. Commissioner, school board, city council, mayor, that you represent and you risk and you use your social, political, and your financial capital as well. And I think this applies wholeheartedly, part and parcel, with entrepreneurship. Yay, thank you, thank you. My throat's getting a little dry. Sorry about that. I think I'm dehydrated. Thank you. Okay. I don't want to cough on all of you. And so when we think about this duty and this responsibility in representing, I want to offer tools for how we can think about that, integrating those actions into our daily practice. As I know, I'm in here talking to cultural tastemakers. I'm talking to modern Renaissance men, women, non-binary community members. Because bringing this together and representing in these spaces, I think, necessitates knowing your community, understanding our contributions, and that the resiliency, I loved hearing this word repeatedly from past speakers, the resiliency of our manongs, the bravery of our sacadas, the courage of our pensionados and our World War II veteranos runs through all of our veins. And so know that even if you are the only Filipina X or O in the room, whether you like it or not, folks that are unfamiliar with our community will associate that one experience with you and apply it to our entire community. So it's that, again, that careful balance, because you need both. Make no mistake, representation is not the same, but it is necessary with representing. So I have two more points that I'd like to hit because I want to be real sensitive to time. But as I was saying, representing is to be heard. And part of that is, how many times have you walked in the room and you've been questioned as, are you the intern? Oh, are you here to support the event? And they don't ask, are you the director? Are you the head? Are you the CEO? So as we see, and this is today a beautiful reminder of how we're increasing our visibility in these leadership roles and how we're seeing these changes in this progress for the Fil-Am community, it continues to beg the question, how are we going to continue to represent? So even though we just ended Filipino American History Month, I'm also an advocate of speaking on our future and the implications of the future. And with that, I'm going to talk real quick. I feel like I want to speed it up a little bit. I'm going to talk real quick about entrepreneurship versus activism, and then I'll close out. I know that identity is also a big theme today. And so when I was flying out here to join you all, I was thinking, the opposite of rigid is flexibility. The counter to contemplative is active. Activism means to stand for something. The opposite of fact is fiction or imagination and creativity. And when I was thinking about all those opposites, combining it with entrepreneurship, to stand for something, to have conviction, the very definition of entrepreneurship is that the pole to safety is risk, which is the basis of entrepreneurship. And when I combine all of those virtues, those values, and those characteristics, flexibility, resilience, creativity, inventiveness, imagination, standing for something, conviction, belief. Well, I think of a Filipino XRO. Thank you for laughing, thank you for laughing. In Lead Filipino, we teach about the tenets of Filipino psychology. And one of the tenets of Filipino psychology is bayanihan, or the meaning of our community. And we know that in our bayanihan or our barangay families or units, by blood or chosen, they were known for a particular craft, a skill, or a talent. Being known for a particular skill, craft, or talent and creating a system of entrepreneurship to conduct those daily activities of business, it is in our blood, everybody. So to stand for something, when we look at how our country, how our people, how our forebears, how our manongs, our uncles, our aunties, how we have pushed back against imperial forces, against oppression, and against dictators, I see that collective determination toward dignity and the pursuit of happiness. So I see everything that I just described, again, as the spirit of the Filipina X, or X and O, and the inextricable relationship between entrepreneurship and activism. And if this piece speaks to any of you in particular, the reason I wanted to uplift it here is I work with a lot of young folks through Lead Filipino, and they're like, I'm anti-capital, I'm anti-imperial, I'm anti-colonial, and I don't like business. And then I asked them to unravel that for me. What do you not like about business? Well, they don't pay workers right. Well, they union bust. Well, they drive up home prices and contribute to gentrification. And I'm like, well, let's talk about that a little bit more from the vantage point of a small business, an entrepreneur, a gritty, scrappy entrepreneur. Because I see you hustling your hats. I see you rocking your jackets with your logos on it. So do you really hate business? Or do you hate like mass multinational corporations and disparities and inequities in between that? And they're like, oh, you're right. So that's why I offer you my second point, which is the inextricable relationship between activism and entrepreneurship in our community. And I think if you were to ask me if today was about a future focus, we got other fights coming up. Other fights around ethnic studies, other fights to show up for other cultures and races, to build cross-racial solidarity with the Black African American community, with the Latina XO community, and others around a broader call for civil rights in this country. So my last point with everybody is one of my favorite Jay-Z lyrics, and that is, the worst thing I could have done was to not build with you. The worst thing I could have done was to not build with you. And so the last point I want to leave, and it's really just kind of stringing a thread of what you've heard today: persistence, determination, conviction, belief in yourself and your ideas. The worst thing we could do is to not build with each other. And to build with another person, to build a Fancy Crowns, to build a Lead Filipino. Granted, we're still on that shoestring budget, everybody. But to build a sustaining organization, to have an office space in downtown San Jose, to, yeah, all right, hey, don't forget to call when you're in town. To put my art on hats with Crucial Printing out of Milpitas. Hey, there you go. Requires trust. So I want to talk about the realms of trust, and to build with somebody, to take that first step, to engage in commerce, to engage in partnership, to engage in a campaign for months. You need to trust, but you need to first trust yourself. Anyone know the 4 trust languages? Okay, but how many of you know the 5 love languages, though? Wait, hey, Evan. Only Evan knows okay, the fellas represented today on those love languages. So there are 4 trust languages, everybody. They're reliability, credibility, intimacy, and self-orientation. But today I only have time to talk about self-orientation. And self-orientation is the trust that you have within yourself. Do you trust yourself to have the determination and have the discipline to see an idea into fruition? Do you trust yourself unequivocally to know that to partner with these individuals because it feels like the right thing to do? Do you trust your gut? How do you build trust with other people? You need to start with yourself. So I implore all of you, whether you are the seasoned among us, I'd love to talk with many of you after this, or you're junior in your career, or you're mid-career and you're looking at a pivot, revisit your trust languages: credibility, reliability, intimacy, and self-orientation. What you will learn is that the way you conceive of trust and the way you define it in a business context or in a civic context, when we are fighting every day for our manongs, our seniors, our undocumented community members, our youth, we will all have a different definition of trust, but trust is the foundation of building with each other. And so that's all I wanted to say. My recap: trust yourself. Activism and entrepreneurship, part and parcel. And representing is different than representation, but we need both. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.